Can you talk about how much control over allopathic medicine the pharmaceutical companies actually have?
Well, yeah, going back 100 years now, it's a total control. I mean, they basically controlled the curricula. They pay for and support by grants or otherwise a lot of what goes on in the medical schools. The medical, those to be doctors, the students there are being visited by drug reps, sometimes taught by drug reps, much like many of the surgical, you wouldn't believe this, it's so crazy, but like whether it be a Johnson & Johnson, they'll send in a sales rep to show doctors how to use their product in surgery. These are the kind of things that happen. You don't realize how entrenched they are. And of course, the idea of Obamacare, which is patently offensive. Now, if it were McCain Care, and it was the same thing, it would be patently offensive, this idea that the government could mandate the purchase of this so-called medical insurance, which would only cover drugs and drugs and more drugs, for which many Americans are waking to say, I don't want more drugs, we have too many, let's roll that back. But that came to being because of the medical monopoly established in the 20th century, which made medicine cost prohibitive, because prices don't go down in a monopoly.
Sure.
They don't. I mean, but you also have the innovation goes away. In a monopoly, who needs to innovate? You got your market. It's mandated by government, by the force of a gun. And so there's no innovation to be efficient. And they talk about waste and fraud. I mean, that's only one aspect of it. And so all of these things led to the place where people couldn't afford genuine insurance. In fact, government mandated that you couldn't offer insurance unless it covered everything, pregnancy included. So you couldn't get a policy that was truly for catastrophic care. That was really what insurance was about, unexpected catastrophes. Sure. And so it was now cost prohibitive to even get something that no longer existed. And then they blame the evil Republican, play the game. Yeah. And the fact is, it was all of the above that created the scenario where medicine was completely unaffordable and all toxic, and that alternatives were suppressed. There was no First Amendment to discuss what natural supplements could do, homeopathy or otherwise. And at that point, half of the American people begged for, the government has to intervene because the market it didn't work. But it wasn't the market. There hasn't been a free market in healing and medicine for 60 years. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. Again, I come back to the one person running for president, whether you like, I don't mean to get political, but the reality is, and in human terms, the one guy who's saying, why not allow all healers to set up a shingle and heal, provide the healing? They can't lie to you about what they are or do. They have to be truthful, but they don't have to be a medical doctor. Why do we even have to license doctors? Does that limit competition? Yes. Not only that, it protects the bad doctors from the people rather than the people from the bad doctors. Allow the free market to work and you'll find that medical costs go down, access to healing is incredibly universal without a mandate, and there are people like me or even Dr. Paul who would give away their services for free because they can. That they're violating now law. You can't give that away. You're not allowed to do that. Only the government can provide it. So charity would come back into play, and we can genuinely help people that are in need, and even the poor people largely would be able to afford medical care because it would only be used in extreme circumstances as opposed to where it is now under the monopoly system. So there's a lot of history that needs to be understood, and I'm glad you brought up the Flexner report because it was 100 years in the making of the Obamacare.